I guess I think we've discussed a lot about your career. Then I wanted to take some insights from you as somebody who's seen the top level of debating both locally and internationally. What do you think holds Pakistani speakers back? So, just generally, vaguely, we're not that successful.
I think the first thing that holds Pakistani people back is the institutions around debating as opposed to debating itself. Now, the reason why I say this, and I'm very conscious of the fact that the DSP does a lot of good things in terms of scheduling tournaments, making sure they run on time. We are, in fact, I think logistically one of the best run circuits in the world.
Our
We are
school circuit is,
so
yeah, extremely organized.
we are so much better than what England does or what other people do outside of this. Like I would posit that we're probably much more structured than Canada and Hong Kong are, or other people are in like India or whatever. I think the bigger problem is with our lack of innovation coming from the top. We have innovated in things such as equity. I think equity is at least an ever present feature of Pakistani tournaments, as opposed to when we started, where it was like nobody would have known what that meant. But things such as, well, I'll just ask you the question: the people who've been coaching Pakistan team, right? I have no, obviously, like some of them are great speakers. They were great at during their time. I don't even know who the last few coaches were. I think Answer was at some point
Yeah.
coach, and I think that obviously had great effects on the Pakistan team. At that came in. Obviously, we had wasn't somebody outrageously well ranked in that team, or was it the year
No,
after?
that was the year after. That's Daud Kharal, who ranked third in the world.
Fair, fair. But I think Answer obviously has that effect. But even if you look at Answer, Answer is getting to the Pakistan coach job with what, a 10-year gap, a 12-year gap. If you ask me to go out and debate right now, I will not make finals. I will not make semifinals. I will maybe break or something like that. That's because I've been out of debate. I don't know what debate's about anymore. I don't know what the popular norms and culture around debate are. I don't know a multitude of things. So I think the fact that we have been so resistant to people from outside, or people who are actually good at it, or people who have gone to international tournaments coaching teams, is a clear reason for why we're never going to do well at the school level. And the problem with that is most of the Hamza is still Pak team, right? Like, I'm not Pak team. Most of the cream, or the top 20 are already people who were in their national squad. So if you think about my year, right? In Zagreb, Tim was in Team Croatia. If you think about, I think the Canadian team with Naomi in it, Naomi was Team Canada. You've got a bunch of speakers from Hong Kong. Jason spoke for Team Canada. Even like the YouTube video everyone watches the most, right? Like the Harvard A winning the Marxist final or whatever. Both of those people have represented their national teams. So we always set ourselves a leg back almost, where real development starts happening at the point of the university circuit. And by that point, we've not actually taught kids the right way to debate. Even if they're not going to do the right kind of debate or be as good as the rest of the world, they have to spend their first 2 years learning or relearning how to debate, as opposed to doing it. And now I sense that there's some changes in the circuit already around this. But for example, the first thing you said was, "Oh, people are saying mechanisms and comparatives and all." I wouldn't be surprised if lots of people at the top echelons of debate have um, left that altogether. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I think that's the first thing, which is our national team coaches need to be better, and just more in tune. And this does not mean that it has to be me or Hamza or somebody who's successful internationally. I would say they don't need to necessarily be successful. I would say people like you or Ali Hanfia, who's been speaking international tournaments, somebody with recent experience and exposure to the international circuit is a lot better than somebody who was brilliant in 2006. So that would be the first reason why I think we're not doing that well. Secondly, I think our university structure is, I don't know where it is at this point, but it seems to be a lot more individual driven than
Yeah, the
society
university
driven.
circuit is run entirely by private teams, although
Yeah,
that's
so
largely
I
due to the
mean,
return of the
I'm not going to
diamonds.
shade it, but like the death of Lums is just evidence of the fact that however much we wanted to create, I know they've done well at Asians recently, but generally, like the fact that there was a trajectory in Lums, which is
Yeah.
Hafiz did well, we did well, better than Hafiz, and then Usher, etc., made to the Cambridge IB. That's by the way, that's a big deal, right? Like, you being from Lums, you're making the Cambridge IB final, you're making the UADC semifinals. That is huge. So there you go up, 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 and then you suddenly see like a drop. And obviously, some part of that is COVID, but some part of that is also we have individual driven societies, and this isn't a Pakistan unique problem. This is now a, from what I understand, an Asian problem almost, which is Philippines is like from the high echelons like a tenure A to like maybe a tenure is still good. I don't know. I don't mean to diss anyone, but they're not as good as Ignacio or Mika or people like that or NUS for example. I know Sean did well and then Sherms did well and people did well, but I don't know where NUS is anymore. It happens to circuits and it's happened in the UK. It happens otherwise. But I think in Pakistan, the specific thing that causes this, which it doesn't cause for other circuits, is that we don't have student unions. And we don't have consistent like we don't have oversight of debate societies and all like at LSE. I mean it was obviously a bureaucratic pain, but the student union was the one giving us our budget. The student union was the one approving our requests for rooms for stuff and all that. And I think the fact that there's no institution above debate societies that monitors how debate societies are doing, how much money is going into a debate society's account, how much money is going out of a debate society's account, whether they're spending that money at all, what they're going to spend that on. That doesn't create institutions or the administrative legs to make that happen. Vani, for example, was administratively brilliant, right? Who's the next person? Zad was good, I guess.
The,
Who's been good administratively? No one. So yes, debate society's success, yes, depends on debaters to a large degree, but it also depends on a lot of these faces behind doing a lot of the legwork to allow these debate societies to be successful. And Pakistan just doesn't have that.
student unions, who would have thought? This is another reason the Student Solidarity March should be putting on all of their banners every year.
Yeah,
Okay,
make it to
interesting.
the final of worlds.
Yeah,
Beyond that, I think the kids genuinely want to learn. I think some of the most eager kids I've seen in Pakistan debate, some of the most eager kids I've seen in terms of learning debate have been Pakistani kids. Pakistani kids want to learn. I think we also have a culture of destroying them. I don't know how. Again, I'm out of the circuit. I've been out for 3 or 4 years now. But what happened to Rafi Tabassum? Like Rafi Tabassum was going to be the guy who was going to take us to another Worlds final at some point. I was convinced of it. At World Schools at WDC, he was going to do something. He wasn't going to be somebody who just quit debating after the first year. I would just ask you to like take out his book, make a list of all the speakers who've graduated out of their A2s over the past 5 years, and just calculate how many of them continue debating. And then that gives you a fair reflection of what we do to kids in school circuits. Maybe that might be pressure, that might be bullying, that might be the fact that we make debating into this crazy habit where people, instead of making friends, almost become like mortal enemies or whatnot. But clearly, there is a problem with how we're teaching kids debate, um, and what the effects that that's having on them. Again, lots of people think debate is toxic outside of Pakistan as well. So it's not Pakistan unique,
but it
but
sounds
I
like we
think
might have
there's
a
a bigger
greater
problem in Pakistan than
concentration.
there is. Like, I still remember when we were seniors, the depth of talent that we got from the school circuit, and then the number of people that were actually willing to participate was insane. It was just like there's so many that we've got in lumps. Why are they not speaking? They would
Yeah,
be
we
so
have
good.
like a systematic burnout problem between school and university. It's either burnout or people just go to hate debating entirely very often, which is,
Yeah, I think
sad.
that might also be part of how our national trials and our structure for success how that's been created. Like I was having a chat with people from the Hong Kong team and all. I was having a chat with kids about how their process works, and essentially the way it works is not that you have to be top 20 at nationals or top 20 overall. I mean, yes, your success matters, but everyone applies to go to team, and then the people making the selection aren't this like arbitrary body of these selectors that I don't know how they come to be. You can tell me about it, and then I can point out the issues. But there's no selectors. Like the coach is the person who is going to teach the team, so the coach is the person that gets to choose who they want on the team. There's no point in having a coach who gets people on the team that he doesn't want to work with, or she doesn't want to work with. So again, in Hong Kong, you apply, your application goes through. The coaches might schedule an interview with you, depending on your experience and your strengths and what you've achieved and what you haven't. They can take you on the team and they can give you a chance. But it seems to me be pretty obvious that the way that we evaluate speakers and then turn them into a team is even though we've achieved some success with it, is largely speaker driven as opposed to coach driven. Like in your year, you had brilliant speakers with you in the team, but also with Zainab in the team, right? Every single year there
And
seems to be like
Hamza.
somebody good on the team. Hamza was the still of him watching the semifinals will haunt
Yeah.
him to his last living day. But again, it seems to me that a lot of that credit, while obviously there was some coaching and coaching obviously helped you, a lot of that credit actually goes to the speakers. They're the ones driving the success as opposed to the process essentially driving success. And the process will fail a couple of years or 3 years, but the process will make you come back. There's a reason why Canada is just there. It's been there for 20 years. I know Singapore is dead right now, but Singapore is facing the same problem that Pakistan is, which is it's great to have one institution in the team all the time. I know you're coaching ISL now, so it's not a dig at you at all. You're not Raffles or whatever that was called. Um, but it's great having having somebody like that all the time. But if you've got like some 60-year-old person or 70-year-old person leading a debate society, then you're not going to do well. And at some point you're going to get caught, and they've been caught. Any All the teams that have done well now: Philippines, India, China, Hong Kong. Everyone's hired new coaches, set up new I guess ways of recruiting students. Pakistan's just not doing that.
Yeah. So the big summary there would be basically we need an injection of fresh blood into our coaching and our structures, especially at the school level, which will then hopefully also solve all of the concomitant issues of like kids being burned out by a bunch of people who don't really understand debating that well anymore.
Yeah, and this is not to say that the oldies are bad or whatever. I think the oldies are pretty good in terms of the
Structure,
administrative bits of it.
administration,
The structure is
civility.
fantastic. You've got things good. I It's almost like we want you to arrange tournaments and then leave. Like just don't be involved in any of the debate matters at all because again, you're not up with the times, and we're now running behind, especially because every the online era did not only have a benefit for Pakistan. Everyone caught up. So I mean, I heard Bangladesh did well, Bulgaria did really well, Scotland did well.
I
This
saw.
is World School, so I know there was something to do with some motion that killed all the top teams in the octos of the quarters, where I think lots of the top dogs went out. That might be true, but it is also equally true that we weren't up there, right? Like we were
No,
out.
we were just a good team.
Yeah, which is what we've been for 15 years now,
Yeah.
or
And
20
possibly,
years.
arguably, something we might not be able to preserve if we don't change things. Because if it's genuinely the case that world schools get harder every year, then Pakistan's very long spree of breaking every year may come to a close unless we pull something
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
It's a
And
grim
the
spot.
other obvious thing is just funding, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
unfortunate thing that we can't change, which is it would be really nice for Pakistan to have a. I mean, to be fair, like you guys just lost the other weekend, so there's some hope yet. But the fact that unfortunately, lots of very talented speakers at the likes of GCU, FC, PU, UET, UCL, teams in Karachi. I don't even know what the Karachi University circuit's like at this point. They just don't have the money to go and develop. And by the time they get the money to go and develop, they're just too old to
Yeah.
continue.
The only real chance for growth without money it does appear to be the online circuit, which, to be fair, I think represents a genuine opportunity for Pakistani speakers to get really good in a way that wasn't possible before the online era. Like you just could not access that level of competition. There's only so good you need to be beating each other, and I definitely think if Pakistani universities really want to get good, then online is still very much the way to go because you can just run into world's finalists, world's champions, and things like that in a way you can't
Yeah,
otherwise, which is
yeah,
crazy. Like for me, this was still, I think, I was, as you pointed out, for a very long time, I've been a local debate top dog. So in Pakistan, really big deal. But I would say that for most of my local debate career, while I'm growing at a very glacial pace because apart from 2 to 3 people at the top level of debating, you don't really need to improve to get good. So I was also very chill. I was sleepwalking through some tournaments. Not to say I was winning most of them, I wasn't, but I was consistently placing finals or semis, which was, good enough. But then I think when I spoke the LSE Open with you when I came back and we made it to the final, I think that's the most out of place I felt in a debate room in my entire life. And I didn't feel this as a kid. Like even making it to Bach team, I felt, okay, this is very nice, but I don't feel like I don't belong here. That final I made it to you with, I did not feel like I belonged there. There were world champions, world finalists, world's best speakers, world's judges, and of course you. I was the only person there, I think, who'd never so much as broken at worlds. And I think the incredible level up you get just by being in that room can't go understated. It's ridiculous what it does to how fast you have to move to keep up.
Yes, but I would also just say that's also how growth happens, which is,
Yeah,
I think, if you look at years two, three, four, Taha Iqbal and Lums, it isn't like year one is growth, and then two, three, four is just like,
yeah,
okay, it's like this, but it's like slow. And then I think growth always happens in spurts. We were actually discussing this, Bobby and I, with regards to our chess ability, where for
yeah.
with chess as well, you'd be stuck at an elo rating or a
And then
rating for a
something
really long period of
clicks.
time, and something clicks, and then you go up. So I think that's just exactly how growth is. But I think that in terms of quality, I probably agree. Like, you probably kids would be better served to go to online tournaments than they would maybe local ones. But I guess perhaps it's also the case that if kids do start going to online tournaments a bit more, then even the local
Will
quality
get
goes
better
up.
just
Everyone
by
comes
default.
back
Yeah,
to it.
I can say for sure. Like I've been on the circuit, the school circuit and the university circuit again for the past year. I think that while the top level is probably not much stronger than it was in our old university era, which is to say, I mean, part of it is the same people. It's partly still me, still Usher, and people like that. Even if we are better than we were before, the top level is by and large similar to what it used to be. The median level in debater in Pakistan is a much stronger debater than they used to be 5 years ago. The median level debater now actually debates, whereas I think 5 or 6 years ago they were unguided, they weren't given information, they didn't understand the format, and there were just a bunch of 5e things going on. So I definitely think that sort of transformation is happening. But you're right, I think, in the sense that the ability to direct all of this into a funnel of top level talent hasn't quite been achieved right now. Your average debater is getting better, but your top debater is slowly getting better.
I think the other thing that I guess we probably should also point out is on the other side of the coin, which is the problem with online debates is it does not incentivize lots of people to judge, apart from when they're being offered subsidy. In which case, I think obviously Pakistani judges going there is pretty good, but
Yeah.
again, I don't think people really enjoy judging that much.
We
Um,
actually, this is, we actually have a growing independent judge pool now, which loves eyeing and goes everywhere and judges
Well,
and
that's good,
speaks.
right? Insofar as they're eyeing the right tournaments, it really, I mean, again, it has to be like sort of almost like the responsibility of the adult judge to decide which tournaments to go to. Depends on which CAs there are, and then learn from those people or just the panels that they're in, the discussions that they get. But the second bit is, I think, also institutionally, like the judges that go with the world schools team. I would just say that. The team Pakistan has this unique privilege where the society will pay for lots of people to go not just debate but also to go judge, which means that the selection process for these judges has to be a lot more tight. Now, I think there are examples of lots of Pakistani judges doing really well, and getting on like edge scores of was it worlds
A couple
that
of people have made it not to the Ad Score of Worlds, but Anam
Euros,
Nasir, for instance,
Asian
is
Anam
applying right
exactly.
now.
Yeah, so Anam, for example, and I think that the I guess if I was ever to make a request at a DSP about like one, obviously not screwing up with the kids, but two would be like stop sending your best friends to judge for you at world schools. Like, make it a competitive process. Try your best to send young people who are actually going to be involved in the circuit for a longer period of time, um, to go judge, as opposed to people. I mean, but so honestly, like the older I'm going to get, the more harder my opinions about debate are going to be. They're not going to change that much, as opposed to when I was like 20, when I was still learning the thing and trying to do well. I'm not trying to do well anymore. I've done it. I'm gone. And that's similar for judges as well, which is if you get people like Anam, and I think Anam was sent, wasn't she? And then that's a clear success story. That's a roadmap to for success for other people as well. Just get young people who have just graduated out of university, who might still be in university, who are going to be involved in that space for a long period of time. Give them the opportunity to go judge, because at WSTC the judge pool has gotten a lot better than the uncles and aunties that used to judge back in the day. It's now actually genuinely like really really good people who end up showing up. So yeah, just don't send your best friends to judge, I guess.
Yeah, turn it into a competitive and useful thing for the circuit. Makes sense. Although, on the side note, I do think you can become one of those old debaters like Harish, who is always good at a thing, even if they're out of date in some ways. So that would be cool for Pakistani debating. In fact, I believe you have some ambition, hopefully, to come attend some tournament whenever you're back next time. Inshallah, maybe, possibly,
Yeah, if I have,
if you have time.
if there is something, I'll do it for fun.
Yeah, Mazadar. Wear
We
an
should
orange and
probably
purple
set
for it,
ourselves up
mashallah.
as a non-breaking team or something, just out of,
Hold
I
up.
guess.
No, 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 no.
We'll
If
see.
you're
We'll see.
coming, if you're coming and you speak with me, I want a trophy out of it. I'm not getting enough trophies. I've spoken koi 6 7 tournament पिछले साल में and I've won one time.
That's
It's
really
it's
embarrassing.
it's getting tight out here. I need additional help to
Who
help
are
me
you
secure
losing
domain.
to?
A whole variety of people. Pehle mein वापस आया. I lose to Daud Khadil and Bakhtiyar Ahmed and Shajivna. At which point, Daud Khadil, going closing opposition, also ends his speech with, "Let's give it to the real best whip in Pakistan." So not a great look for me when I lose that round. Uske baad I've lost to Sarim Kareem and Ali Nawaz a couple of times. I've lost to a lot of these people have spoken in different setups now. So I've lost to some permutation of Ali Hanfia, Laiba, Usher, Imad, all of these people in groups. Everybody's basically been taking turns winning tournaments. But yes, this is not the top privileged GOAT status I was accustomed to back in my day when I won at least 2, 3 tournaments a year. So I need you to come back and help me clutch one of these out. क्योंकि वरना मेरे लिए अच्छा नहीं होगा. I think we can move towards wrapping up a bit now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get some final big picture thoughts now, looking back on a very long, very successful career. Um, what did you enjoy the most about debating so far? Is it something that you want to keep in your life in some capacity? Is it something you see yourself sticking around with, or is it like in your past as something you enjoy but are done with?
Um, I guess in terms of the best thing about debate, or the thing that will remain is one. I think debate is actually. I was having a conversation with someone about this, which is most of my friends are debaters. I don't know what that tells people about me, but it is also just true that while it can be a very heated and competitive space, that you will find your people in that space. So I think that's one. And this is across continents, right? Like you guys in Pakistan, and we've got like people at LSE and over here. Then also just international people like Sherms and all those Bangladeshi boys and all that. So I think that's one, which is like you actually do get the opportunity to make a lot more friends than you would otherwise. Second, I don't think I'm going to debate like competitively at all. But if I feel like it, and if I have the time, and if it's fun, I'll do it. So one of the things that, unlike Asad, I guess, who really wants to be like, oh, I'm done with this. I do the LSC Open every year, which is just like not because it's competitive or anyone really cares about who wins or who loses. It's just like a nice.
I care.
It's a nice place to meet people who were at one point at the top of their game, and to also like I'm officially old now in debate terms. People have forgotten about me and Iona already. They don't really know who I am. They do know who Hamza is still. He's going to be popular for a really long period of time, but I will do debate recreationally from time to time. Obviously, that will be fairly limited. Um, but yeah, I'm not completely out of the activity. If that means I have to add score, then that's no. Like if people want me to add score for them, if you want me to judge for them, all I'll do is I'll give you my name, and you can attract people. Maybe people who know me. I don't know why they would know me, but if you want to attract people to your tournament and get people to come, then yes, use my name. I will not show up to judge because while I used to love speaking, I maintain my hatred for judging. Um, I will probably stick around for the LSE Open or the odd online tournament to speak with you guys.
Cool.
Maybe at some stage do like HWS with Hamza, but beyond that, it's for the most part done.
I'm curious about this because this is one that's been on my mind for a while. In a hypothetical world where the cultural norm surrounding debating wasn't that you stop it after university, but that it was a true competitive exercise like most competitions, which is it goes on until like people genuinely cannot keep up anymore, would you have stuck around? Or
It's a difficult one because I think you need to remember that I also debated a lot longer than you. I don't know what your career stuff is now, but I debated between 2013 to 2021. No, 2012 or 2011 to 20. I did it for a decade, right? Like I did it for 10 years. Which is also one of the reasons why I don't understand why kids leave debate. I'm like, you've done it for 3 years. You're not exhausted. Like I'm exhausted. So I think one of the reasons why I might not have continued is because of that. Um, and the other reason being that I do think that once you achieve like a certain level of success, maybe you should give room to other people to also achieve some success and grow, and take yourself out of the picture almost. I respect that about debating actually, as opposed to other sports where people come up and keep on winning World Cups over and over and over again. I think it makes the sport a lot more interesting. I think it makes the sport evolve a lot more. Debating, if you think about it, like every single year there's something new that's happening in debate that doesn't really happen in a lot of other things, and that's partly because there's new people around, and people need to think that they are going to be successful. Like if I go back to Taha Iqbal, I was like a miserable kid. Going, I was a genuine weirdo. Like if a kid thinks that every single weekend of their life they're just going to an activity to primarily lose, then not a lot of kids are going to go there. So I think there needs to be some space for success.
Yeah,
Um,
at the very least, maybe like the splitting of a large enough circuit into
yeah,
areas where everybody can still win.
yeah. So I wouldn't mind, for example, doing what you guys are doing and going to tournaments that don't really, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, matter so much. Like if there was a version of like adult nationals or university nationals, I
Yeah,
would never do that again. For worlds, I don't think I will ever do that again. I might go for a PhD, and maybe I will. But I think the point also is that if I'm ever going to do it again, seriously, I will need to do it with a partner that I like, as opposed to a partner that is good. Those are two very different things now. I think when you start off in debate, you want people who are good. As like you would potentially, I don't know, like go with. There's a lot of names that are coming to mind, but I don't want to take them. But you take any of them just to be successful. But at this point, I'm just like I don't really care.
just
I've
for
achieved a
fun.
level of success. I probably want to have fun. So I don't know if you were around and we were doing PhD somewhere, then yes, maybe I do another run and go to Worlds again. But beyond that, I think it's actually nice that people leave. Although I think it's also the reverse is also nice, which is some people stay. Like Harish staying has obviously had a great effect for the Hong Kong circuit, and the World circuit. You already got somebody who's always going to be there, and is pretty good at it and keeps up with the times. But no, I think there is also just like sometimes you just need to say bye bye,
Fair
hang up
enough.
your boots.
Hopefully, I get into a university at some point and we do an LSE Open in person next time.
Yeah,
Uh,
that'll be fun. At
and
least the opens are fun in person.
I should hope so. And then just one final note. Then I think, what's one thing that you think you did not like about your debating journey? Something that you would have changed if you could go again.
I wouldn't really. I guess I wouldn't really change much because rather it's a rather corny statement, but that's what makes you go to where you go. I what I would have changed independent of me is I guess the way that people interact with kids who are not from elite schools. And I genuinely feel like if Pakistan just did a better job of not only just including equity, but like there's no point of equity being there if it's just like for the worst cases of like harassment or abuse or somebody said something that is completely offensive, right? I still think there is a huge barrier. If debate is about making friends, and clearly we've been friends, and then I have so many friends, and genuinely the activity becomes a lot more enjoyable if you do have friends, and you learn a lot more if you have friends. Then I think one of the things that I would change is just the way that people look at you if you're not from one of those elite schools. I don't know what the solution to that is. Maybe the LGSs of the world, and then the HSNs and the KGSs and all their coaches need to be a bit less of assholes. But like that's the way
And
the
I
world
think
is.
that
And
the success of doing something like that would be so self-evidently obvious, given that, like, you, for instance, not from one of the DSP schools, and look at where you are. Daud Khaddal from GCU never really spoke inside our local school circuit, went to world schools, third best in the world. There's myriad untapped just potential inside the circuit waiting to be tapped into. That's
yeah,
fairly
yeah.
just make the
I think
experience more
that's
enjoyable for
basically
everyone.
just the only thing I would change, which is like, yeah, it's
So
nice
what do you
that
say?
you're good at what you're doing, and obviously, like, I'm not going to say that I'm friends with everyone, right? Like, if you look at the people that I'm friends with, a lot of them are pretty successful, and that's perhaps what happens to people, and that's what these school kids also did, or their coaches also did. But I do think that there is some value to just going beyond that and just making friends with people, just having conversations with people. Um, Even though I'm socially awkward, so I don't really go to people and say, "Hey, do you want to talk to me about a round or something?" But if someone does genuinely approach you and they want to have a chat, just have a chat. If somebody wants to be in your group and just stand on the side and listen to something, allow them to come in, greet them or whatever. That's the only thing I'll change.
Very surprisingly sweet sentiment from the crotchety
And
old man of
what else?
Pakistani debating.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Honestly, the weirder thing is, it's like I genuinely believe that to be. No, I shouldn't say this on the pod. I'll say this after. But yeah, no.
We'll discuss. But yeah, no, that makes sense. I think we can sum up your debate journey as surreal but nice, then, to
Yes,
reference a
great.
wonderful movie
Great
you showed
spirit.
me at one of
I
our
think the
lowest
only
points in our
thing.
debate career.
Yeah, it's the opposite of what Hobbes says, right? Like it was nasty at times, it definitely wasn't short, and it was brutish for me earlier on, and brutish for others. Hopefully, when I was good. No, it was a fun thing. Debate was. I'm glad I stuck with it as opposed to some of the other activities that I
No,
could have,
that's
like, for example, Masood, in an alternate world, you and I could have been doing MUN.
yeah, no, that's a world we prefer not to think about, even if it was a
Oh yeah,
distinctly
that's the other thing I
possible.
would change. I would definitely change this habit of debaters doing MUN as well on the side. I think Essen could have been one of the best speakers in the Pakistani circuit if he just didn't want to be like Luman president,
Uh,
whatever that means. Like, I think there is so much potential that Pakistani speakers have that gets lost to this. Oh, मुझे country
big
country
gaping
खेलना है.
pit of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I share your sentiments, but I don't want to offend the MUNers too hard so that they still end up becoming debaters.
I'm happy defending them on your behalf. I'll
No,
end
that's
this on
fine.
a
You are a lone
not
gun
so
who can
sweet
do
note.
whatever he wants. I'll wrap it up here then. So thanks again, Iqbal. For me, you are my debate goat. I think from the moment I first saw you, at least in university, I was always extremely excited about the potential of when I learned you were coming to LUMS and us eventually getting to team. I will not pretend I ever called you going as far as you did, but I knew that when you were coming to LUMS, everything was really about to shake up. And then for the next years, for next 4 years, for me, you were very much like my number one debate rival in every meaningful sense of the word. And then at some point in the middle, you just completely eclipsed me and left me behind. So that was exceptional. And I am now struggling to catch up and reestablish myself as a relevant Taha, and not just as Taha number two eternally on the world stage. So let's see what we can do about that. But yes, thank you once again. And everybody, this is our first ever celebrity interview with anybody on this podcast.
Jeez.
Hopefully, one of many to come. And we will definitely get you back again at some point if there is a very cool topic you have many more thoughts on. But this has genuinely been very insightful. Do you have anything you want to say, or shall I turn this podcast off so we can gossip about whatever it is you were implying a moment ago?
Nah, just well, I guess I have to say thanks for having me, even if it was 30 minutes late.
Oops.
Um, I hope people, I guess, like take something positive out of this. I've been chatting
Don't worry.
very
There are a
random
whole
stuff.
bunch of people who are going to watch this one more religiously than the others because a
I am not
generational
sure
talent
about
is
that,
on it.
but if you're looking for some juicy goss, this is not where you get it. If you want to do juicy goss, I can talk about a lot of people. But the problem is I have goss about the Pakistani circuit, about like people who've retired or probably irrelevant by now, hopefully irrelevant by now.
Inshallah.
Nice speaking
So,
to you, Masood, as ever. Nice catching up as well. I don't know what the last time was when we actually spoke to each other, so it's nice that
yeah,
it's in the form of a
now
bloody
it's
interview.
public. Inshallah. Okay,
Right.
great. I will wrap it up now.
All right. Cool.